Hi, my name is Colleen Cain. I'm a 7th grade science teacher in Michigan, and I partnered with Marsha Riggs, a STEM teacher in Tennessee. Marsha traveled to work with Dr. Ben Nye at the University of Southern California. Dr. Nye is the Director of Learning Sciences at the University of Southern California, and our lesson that we created is focused on invasive species and their impact on biodiversity with integrated AI elements. The lesson focuses on ecology NGSS standards, specifically on how invasive species impact biodiversity. It has AI, artificial intelligence components embedded into the plan as a way to not only learn about invasive species, but also how AI can be used to combat the spread and impact of invasive species. For the engagement portion of our lesson, students will work through a PAL3 module. This module will introduce and explain machine learning to them using Google's Teachable machine website. PAL3 stands for Personalized Assistant for Lifelong Learning, and it's a program designed by the Learning Sciences Department at the Institute for Creative Technologies at USC. The PAL3 website is linked at the top of our lesson, and to get started, you'll just need to go to the site and create a login. Then you will select the module, Invasive Species, and using AI to. From there, you'll find the first 3 modules for engagement, exploration, and the explain components of our 5E lesson plan. The Google Teachable Machine website is an introduction for students to machine learning and can be used to teach a computer how to recognize objects, shapes, sounds, and even invasive species. In this module, students will watch 4 short videos explaining what Teachable Machine is and answer a multiple choice question to go along with the video. For the next portion of our lesson, exploration, students will explore the impact of invasive species on the ecosystem through articles and videos that provide more information on specific examples of invasive species, specifically the impact of invasive grasses on the Maui wildfires, and the impact of zebra mussels in the Hudson River. And this will also take place on the PAL3 website. The PAL3 website also has multiple choice questions embedded into each section to allow students to demonstrate their understanding. For the explain portion of the lesson, students will also be using the PAL3 module website. Students will read an article and they will watch videos about the monitoring and management of invasive species using AI and machine learning. They'll answer multiple choice questions on how and why scientists monitor invasive species using AI and machine learning. And then they also will engage in an interactive dialogue with Open Tutor, which is basically an interactive tutor. And that will help them measure their understanding of how AI is being used to monitor invasive species. For the elaborate part of the lesson, this component actually has students using Google's Teachable Machine website, and there's actually 2 options for this part of the lesson. The first part of the lesson is for students that have access to an outside learning space at their school or home. And the second option provides images for students that don't have access to an outdoor learning space at their school. And the goal of this activity is for students to train Google's Teachable Machine to identify native and invasive ecosystem. For the first option, students will go outside and they'll take pictures of species in their environment, and they'll actually use Google Lens to identify the species and then to determine if it's native or invasive in their area. Students will then upload those photos to Google's Teachable Machine and train the machine on which species are invasive and which are native. The second option is very similar, except this provides students with pictures of native and invasive species in a biome, and we've linked a PowerPoint at the top of our lesson with those pictures. Students will still use Google Lens to identify what the species are and determine if they're native or invasive in their ecosystem. Similar to option 1, they'll upload the photos to Teachable Machine and train the machine on which items are invasive and which are native to the area. Finally, for the evaluate component of the project, students will create an invasive species poster. We have linked the invasive species poster assignment and a rubric that can be used for the project. Basically, students will investigate one invasive species and they'll create a digital poster highlighting the impact of that species and how AI either is being used to control the spread of that species or how it could be used to control the spread of that species. And these posters could then be shared throughout the school to raise awareness about invasive species and their impact on the ecosystem.